Was Avatar 2, The Way of Water, as good as Avatar 1? The reason why I liked Avatar 1 so much was because of the immersion. You follow along Jake Sully's story into this new planet, Pandora, right? It's like you're there. I really felt like I was there in Pandora when I was watching the movie, and that's what sold it to me. That's what sold it for me, the whole experience. I wasn't really watching the movie for the story. I didn't really care for the story. I mean, I did. The story was good, but that's not what I remembered. I remembered being in Pandora. It was that immersive. With this movie, with Avatar 2, The Way of Water, it was more story heavy. And that's natural. We already been through that process. Jake Sully has already had that introductory period to Pandora, so we're not going through those motions again of, diving back into Pandora. He's already there. From very close to the beginning of the movie, we're faced with hardship, and they have to deal with this hardship throughout the entire movie. Whereas I said, with the first one, we get that introductory period. We get Jake Sully learning about the avatars, the Na'vi, Pandora. He's exploring, he's learning, he's growing, and we as the audience are learning and growing along with him. We are more immersed in that experience because it's new to him, it's new to us, so we really feel like we're in Pandora. But with this movie, it was more story heavy. It relied more on the story than it did on the immersive experience. And so in that way, it felt more like a movie than an experience. The first one felt more like an experience than a movie. And I understand that's why people didn't like the first one. They said the story was weak, and we don't understand why people like it so much. People like it so much because of the experience. You felt like you're in that world. Whereas with Avatar 2, it felt more so like I was sitting back and watching a movie. And I do want to point out that that's not necessarily a bad thing, because in fact it is a movie and they do have a story to tell. And so we can't really get that immersive experience like we did in the first one because, we're fresh to that, right? That's why I usually like a first movie in a trilogy or a first movie in a franchise, because that's the first time you're being exposed to that world. It feels fresh, it feels new, you're learning things, and you're not going to get that experience again in the second movie because we've already established the world. That's just the nature of sequels. So in order to combat that, what James Cameron did is he takes Jake Sully and his family over into a completely new tribe, away from the forest tribe into the water tribe, into the sea tribe, right? So they have to learn over there. But still, it doesn't capture the magic of that first movie because we're starting from scratch in that first movie. The entire world is new. And also the soundtrack in the first movie felt more magical. It felt bigger. It enveloped you. The soundtrack really wrapped around you and brought you into the world. That's not to say the soundtrack of Avatar 2 was bad. It wasn't bad. It was good. But I just felt the magic in Avatar 1 soundtrack more than the second one. Also, I don't know if it was just me, but I feel like the CG in the first section of the movie, when they're still with the forest people, the trains tumbling especially, that looked kinda... it's good. The CG is good, but compared to everything else, that was, not as good. And I feel like the first section with the forest people wasn't as strong as the rest of the movie. It really picked up. It really did pick up when the family moved over into the water people. Once they got there, I was like, okay, the movie opened up and I saw what they were doing. I saw what was going on. From a visual standpoint to the story standpoint, that's when the movie really picked up. I watched the movie in IMAX 3D, so we had a higher frame rate. And while the higher frame rate worked in some sections, it really took away from the cinematic feel of the movie. It felt more like a video game in certain points. I was watching the trailer just now, and the trailer felt a whole lot more cinematic than the movie did. And so that took me out of it a bit in the beginning. I had to get used to the higher frames, watching the movie at higher frames. And once we get to the water, I understood why James Cameron wanted the higher frames, because it gave you that underwater GoPro feel. It felt like you were there. With the underwater stuff, the higher frame rate works. But everything else, I prefer the 24 frames, the regular standard cinematic look. The way James Cameron showcased the underwater scenes, I felt like I was there. Like I could feel what that felt like, being in the water, playing with the animals. It felt visceral in a way, like just floating in the water, looking at things, like I could relate to that. And that's probably what it was. With the first movie, riding on the back of those creatures, flying around, I couldn't really relate to that because I don't know what that feels like. But I do know what it feels like to be in the ocean. I do know what it feels like to be in the water, how it looks, how it feels, how it is to hold your breath. And so I guess that added to the immersion because it was the first time for these forest Na'vi to be in this water environment and to learn that was immersive. And I did like that. As you notice, I'm focusing more on the experience of the movie and not so much the story because it relied more on the story than the experience. whereas Avatar 1 relied more on the experience than the story. So I don't want to spoil the story too much for you guys. I want you guys to go out and watch the movie. I don't want to give too much away, because there was some really cool moments and things that are going to lead to pretty intense situations in the sequel. And if any of you guys have seen the movie in IMAX 3D, let me know this. When I was watching the movie, it felt like my focus was being drawn to the center of the screen. I don't know if that was due to the 3D glasses or the giant IMAX screen. I mean, I've seen multiple movies in IMAX, and it's not drawn to the center of the screen. I think that was the 3D. So if you guys go and watch this movie, I would recommend not do the 3D. Just do not do the IMAX 3D. You know, just do standard IMAX. I would recommend the lower frame rate and not 3D. I feel like that would be a lot more cinematic of an experience and would probably lend itself more to the immersion. While the movie was good, I kind of feel bummed that I'm not hyped. I'm not excited. And you might be seeing that in this review, that I'm not excited like I wasn't in any of my last reviews. And I feel like I've been spoiled by all these superhero movies where there's crazy things that are happening. You're hyped. You're like, whoa, 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 what's going on? What's happening? That's crazy, right? There were some crazy moments like that, but overall this movie was solid. Like, it was good. Like, it was quality. It was produced well. Even doing this review, I wasn't sure, like, should I do a review, because I'm not excited. It was a quality movie, but it didn't bring me excitement. Like, the first movie, I was excited because I was brand new into this world. But with this one, it was good. It had good moments. It had good effects. The story was good. I liked the characters. The creatures were awesome, and I'm a fan of underwater creatures and the water, so I like that aspect. The animals, I like that. The feeling of being underwater really came across the screen, and I like that. But I don't know, man. It just didn't blow my mind. Like Avatar 1, it blew my mind because we were new. After coming out of the theater, I was like, dang, I want to go back to Pandora. I miss Pandora. It's like I was there. I didn't feel that with this one. This one was just a solid movie. It didn't teleport me to this new environment. But that's going to be it for my review. If I had to actually put a number on my rating, I don't like doing that, but if I had to, I'd probably put it at an 8. And mind you, my rating scale is not looking at the movie critically. It's based on how I liked it. I can rate a movie highly critically that I didn't like, or rate a movie low critically that I did like. So I'd much rather just rate it how I liked it. So I'd give this movie an 8 out of 10. But if you guys seen the movie, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.